Hi, friends and supporters of Prairie Soap House and Apothecary. This is Erin Oberlander, certified holistic aromatherapist, herbalist, and holistic health expert coming to you today to talk about dealing with exhaustion. This is part of a video series that I'm doing right now. Part 1 happened the other day. Today, I am doing part 2. The first part was all about stimulants versus adaptogens. Today is about how to cultivate a better attitude toward rest and sleep and how to get better rest and sleep. So the first thing that I want to talk about today is that I feel that rest and sleep are two things that are a little bit demonized in our culture. In fact, we have a little bit of hero mentality around the idea of stressing ourselves out to the point where we're not sleeping, we're super busy all the time. In fact, a lot of us are often in the habit of bragging about how much sleep we didn't get or how busy we are. And this becomes a way that we sort of affirm our value in a really strange, backwards sort of way. We kind of feel like if we can say that we're working so hard that we're not even getting rest or sleep, that somehow we have that our work has more value or we have more value. I think this is a problem because one of the main things that we need to do as a human living in a human body is give our body time to rest and repair. And when we have an idea that we can't take time for that, or that we have guilt about taking time for that, we need to first address that self-limiting belief. Where is it coming from? Is it a fear of lack? Is it a lack of self-worth? Is it that you're just, as I was for many years, very addicted to stress and to the dopamine hits that come from accomplishing things, hitting deadlines, all of that. Not that that's a bad thing, but when your entire life revolves around that, what happens on the backside is that you aren't getting enough rest, you aren't getting enough sleep, your brain's never getting a break. And it becomes an addiction. It actually is an addiction that happens in our brain. Our brain expects to constantly be getting these dopamine hits. And then on top of it, what many of us are doing is medicating ourselves with stimulants because we aren't getting adequate sleep or rest. When I started looking into herbalism, what I learned is that all of that stuff, the caffeine and the stimulants, is just a band-aid, and eventually you're gonna have to pay that bill, so to speak, about not taking the time for rest and sleep that you should be. Why? Because if we aren't going into sleep, our body does not have time to repair itself. Our body repairs itself in the brain and in your cells while you're sleeping. This is also the time that your body goes into its deepest detoxification mode. And when we aren't spending adequate amounts of time in sleep, aka when we're also just obviously fasting, our body does not ever have time to get on top of just the natural detoxification that it needs to do to get rid of the byproducts of its metabolism day in and day out. On top of that, when we're not getting adequate sleep, we're throwing ourselves out of the natural cortisol curve that our body needs to have for us to perform our best. So in the morning, it's cortisol that wakes us up, should be high. By late afternoon and evening, cortisol should be dipping, and then we should stay low in cortisol throughout the night. When we are overstimulating ourselves with caffeine or other stimulants or sugar, what happens is that cortisol curve never really goes down. It's up and stays up, or it might try to spike itself even through the night because our body becomes used to a certain equilibrium. Okay, so first of all, we need to change our attitude towards the importance and the value of rest and sleep. And we need to realize that this is something that is necessary for our body to do its basic functions, and in no way does it indicate weakness. In fact, maybe it takes a certain amount of strength and maturity to be able to say to yourself that, yes, I do need to take a day off. Yes, I do need a breather. Yes, I do need a vacation. Yes, I do need 8 or more hours of sleep a night. Once we have accomplished that internally, mentally, and emotionally, then we can talk about, okay, how do we improve rest and sleep? So here are some of my best tips for this that I have experimented with extensively over the last several years. The first tip I have for you is to completely eliminate blue quality light at night. So you can do this a variety of ways. Most of us have some kind of program on our smartphones that is in touch with the sunrise and the sunset times. And once the sun has set, it changes the quality of light on your screen from blue towards the orange and red spectrum, which is really important because when we're exposed to blue quality light, such as from our screens in the evenings, or maybe even from an LED alarm clock that's in your bedroom, this throws off your circadian rhythms. It throws off your pineal gland, your pituitary gland, and all of those things in your brain that tell your body, okay, we're supposed to be awake now or we're supposed to be asleep now. So eliminating that blue quality light really helps the pituitary and the pineal gland to stay in sync with the natural light from nature. This also means that you want to do everything that you can to eliminate any artificial lighting in your bedroom. Moonlight is completely acceptable, but if you have a strong street light or something that's coming in, or if you have any sources of light within your bedroom, you want to do everything that you can to eliminate that, because it allows your nervous system to go back to following the cycles of nature, which is really when we are the healthiest. That is a huge tip that I can give you. A bonus to that would be if you turn off your screens and devices completely for several hours before you go to bed, or at least for a half hour before you go to bed, so that your central nervous system has a chance to not be stimulated by information, other people's opinions, sounds, colors, but you create a ritual for yourself that means, okay, I'm turning off the screens. Maybe I'm going to get a book. Maybe I'm going to go take a bath or a shower and allow my body to prepare itself for rest. This does take a lot of self-discipline, right? Because it's very tempting to always be on our phones, to always have that stimulation. Keep in mind, that's also a dopamine hit for your brain. Every time you get a like or a comment on social media, every time you're commenting on somebody else's, you're getting in an argument, all of these things are very unnatural for our body to be doing right before we expect it to fall asleep. Next tip I have for you is a little bit of herbal help. So herbs are just the best for nighttime because there's so many calming herbs that can be made into teas at night. And so maybe this becomes part of your ritual also, that when you turn off your screens at night, you turn on your hot water pot and you boil yourself some water and you get yourself a calming tea. So this is lavender buds, and you can actually make a tea just out of a teaspoon of these in a tea strainer and hot water, and you steep it for a few minutes and you are good to go. Lavender is a general calming herb for most people, and I love to combine it with chamomile. So here I have some chamomile that I grew here in Arcadia, my permaculture farm. Oh my gosh, it smells amazing. Chamomile is also an amazing sedative herb that you can steep on its own as a tea, or you can combine with lavender if you would like to do that. And you can either do this as a tea that you drink, or you can actually make teas for your bath that will have similar effects for you. And then the cherry on top with that is I love to use this herbal sleep spray. It has a tiny bit of melatonin, but it also has some other herbs that are sedative herbs to help calm down that central nervous system, and also helps to deepen the sleep that you have when you are sleeping. And then finally, a little bit of aromatherapy for you is to layer on some lavender essential oil with your lavender tea that you're going to drink. In that, you can diffuse this in your diffuser, you can sprinkle it on your bedding, you can put a few drops in your bath with some carrier oil before bed, you can put a few drops in some carrier oil and put it on your skin before bed. Lavender, for most of us that are neurotypicals, is going to be very calming, relaxing, and will also help, in my experience, I've found that it does help to deepen sleep. Last tip I have for you, and this is super biohacking here, is that if you can avoid carbohydrates at night, for many of us, and if you're tracking with a sleep app, you may notice this. When you have carbs late at night, or even when you're eating late at night, this is going to disturb your sleep because your body's dealing with digestion and dealing with blood sugars when it should be dealing with repairing your body while you're sleeping. So be conscious of that and try to eat several hours before you go to bed and reduce the amount of carbohydrates that you're having in that last meal that you're eating so that your body doesn't have to deal with all of that blood sugar stuff at night. So those are some tips for you for embracing the idea of rest and sleep and how to deepen the quality of your rest and sleep. If you're interested in learning more about this type of thing and how to live in sync with nature, I want you to go over to intuitiveseason.com and get yourself enrolled in the Academy.